Now, one thing I want to mention is that girl streamers are never to be trusted. I'm not joking. You should never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, trust a girl streamer. And as crazy I may sound right now, trust me, this story will tell you why. But before I get into that, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And honestly, if you guys want to hear these stories live in action, join in on me streaming live on Kick and telling crazy stories like this one live. Because obviously it's more embarrassing, and on top of that, just why not? Anyways, let's get straight into this insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story actually happened back when I blew up on YouTube. This was when the channel just started recently growing, and honestly, I wanted to keep this story a secret, but I needed to tell it. Because, I don't know, something about my gut just feels like making these videos is the best way to rant about my really, well, crazy life. Anyways, I remember back when I was blowing up on YouTube, and you guys were really enjoying these videos, which I still hope you do. Pressing that like button would prove that. I remember what ended up happening was that I started meeting a lot of other creators. Now, when YouTubers start growing on YouTube, you start networking, and networking leads to meeting other creators and other YouTubers that also kind of do the same thing you do. But one thing I never got into a lot was the streaming realm. Now, I know what you guys are saying, your name is Bubba Streams, and you do stream sometimes. I'll tell you this much, I am first a YouTuber before a streamer. Now, I know it sounds weird, but I used to stream a lot more back then, so that's why I made the name Bubba Streams, but now just call me Bubba. Going on though, I remember basically when I was networking, one thing I got to talk to was a bunch of girl streamers, because obviously I told stories about the Devil's Tango, and a lot of girls were interested in seeing if my stories were real. And obviously when I told them they would really, well, be in shock. But I remember there was one streamer I ended up meeting that was actually really cool. When I first met her, she seemed like a genuine person. She would always do these like really funny streams online. And when I finally got to meet her in her Discord, I remember I said, oh, hey, like what's going on? I ended up basically making fun of her and stuff. And, you know, basically did the humor where basically I didn't sound like a simp. Because I'm saying this right now, guys, if you watch a girl streamer and you act like a simp, they're going to treat you like a simp. They won't see you as any more or any less. So I remember me when I first got in there, I didn't act like a simp. I act like a genuine person that just wanted to get to know them. I didn't ask any sus questions. I didn't ask anything weird. I was just being normal. And no, I was not tier 3 gifter or #1 gifter in her stream, because that's also really cringe. But I remember I was talking to this girl, and she actually somehow was actually somewhat interested in me as well. Not right off the bat, obviously, but she started asking me questions, and I started, you know, talking to her, and we actually ended up having a genuine conversation, to the point where she added me on Snapchat and actually got my phone number, which is also really rare, by the way, for a girl streamer to give out her phone number. Well, at least I thought with this girl. I remember I ended up talking to her on the phone, and I remember me and her, we were basically having a conversation one time where things got really deep. She was telling me about how, you know, being a girl streamer has its benefits, but also has its, well, L's. Like, for example, when it comes to getting into a relationship, it's really hard to be a girl streamer and also in a relationship, because when, you know, your audience for a girl streamer finds out, you know, you have a relationship, then all your simps go away because they feel like they don't have a chance. And when she was telling me this, I told her, oh yeah, I understand what you mean. And she found that really bizarre, because most people would always try to, like, you know, date her and want her for her body, but never for who she actually was. But for me to say that I understood what she meant kind of boggled her mind, I guess. She ended up telling me, wait, so like you actually like don't care, is what she said. And me, I generally didn't. To be honest, I kind of lost interest in this girl after figuring out how much of her simps were in there. But then I remember she told me, like, I wish I just had a guy that just understood like what I was doing, like you do. And then that's when I had this big brain idea. Obviously, I wasn't gonna date this girl because, well, I didn't know her that well. But obviously, you know, she was hot and we both did understand the world of content together. So why not have friends with benefits? Meaning that, you know, I would get to enjoy her, she would get to enjoy me, and we'd just be friends that are also, well, having benefits. Now, obviously, at first, she was skeptical about it. But then, you know, she knew that I understood and she wanted to actually give me a shot. To this day, I'll never understand why, but I guess I'm thankful in some way. So I remember me and her, we would talk all the time. We used to go to bed together. We would watch shows all night, just staying up on calls. We would do so much together. It's actually kind of insane. I could easily say almost like 75% of my day day was just going to talk to this girl. But one thing I realized was that it seemed too good to be true. You know what I mean? Like, you know that feeling when you actually start liking the person, but then it seemed like it was too good to be true? Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting, that vibe. And honestly, my gut has never been wrong about this kind of thing. Guys, if you understand what I'm talking about, then you know what I mean. But I remember what ended up happening was one time I decided to basically, you know, text her and say, hey, like, what you doing later today? She ended up telling me that she was going to like a barbecue with friends and stuff. And, you know, this girl, she had a lot of guy friends, which if you read my recent stories, you guys would know girls with guy friends is never a good sign. But me, I didn't really care because obviously no strings attached. I don't care. That's the thing with friends with benefits. You cannot have strings attached or it's just going to ruin the whole relationship. So I remember she ends up going to this thing, but when she went and she got drunk and she started drinking at this barbecue that she was at with her friends, I realized that she kept messaging me and calling me and talking to me. And me, obviously I responded because, you know, she was my friends with benefits. And also she was generally a nice person. But then she ends up FaceTiming me and telling me the weirdest thing. And this was like, by the way, like 3 days into our friends with benefits. She ended up calling me and she was in the bathroom. She's like, oh, like I'm hiding from everyone. Oh, okay. Like, you good? Oh yeah, like I'm totally fine. She was not fine. And then she ended up telling me, honestly, like, can I like say something? Yeah, sure. What's up? Is what I said. She ended up saying, well, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to ruin things. And she was really hesitant on saying what she wanted to say. But I told her to just say it and it'll be off the record, you know, no strings attached, nothing will be kept, and that's it. And then that's when she said, oh, like, I really like you. What is what I said? And then that's when my mind went blank. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know at all what I'm supposed to do at this moment. Because obviously this is a girl streamer. She has tons of simps and everything. And she liked me of all people. Probably because I'm the only person that actually understood this whole content realm of life. But I did not know what to say to her at all. So I remember I looked at her and I said, okay, listen, you know what? Just, you know, figure your thing out and then just go home and just go to bed and we can talk about this later. She ended up saying, you know what? No, just forget about it. And then she ended up hanging up the phone. Now at that point, my mind was boggled. Do I actually like this girl? Do I actually want to be in a relationship with this girl? And well, I didn't know what to do because we were only friends with benefits at this point for almost 4 days. So obviously something was off. And well, honestly, this story has been long enough. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys want to hear the next part of this story, make sure you follow me on Kick and also just maybe DM me on Instagram because what I found out about this girl afterwards really just, I guess, broke my heart. I don't know. I remember this girl ends up turning on her live stream and she basically starts talking to her chat. Then out of nowhere, she ends up coming up to me on the side and pulls me into her camera saying, Bubba, it's time. And she reaches for my eggplant when we were still live on stream. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another insane but crazy story. Now, today's story all takes place back when I was in grade 12. Now, in my grade 12 year, I never knew what I wanted to be when I graduated. I'm not gonna lie, but one thing was for sure was that I had a major passion for basically making videos and becoming an online content creator. But obviously back in my grade 12 year, I didn't know what I wanted to be on the internet because, well, the only things I was good at was doing the Devil's Tango and, well, I guess playing video games. Those were the only two things I was good at, and honestly, I didn't see me going far. But I remember my grade 12 year, there was one girl in my high school that ended up being really famous on the internet. She was super popular online, but in school, she was, well, not really known. Honestly, not a lot of people in my school found out she was famous until she ended up actually making a presentation on how she became famous on the internet for English. I remember all of us when she told that presentation were in major shock, especially me because, well, let's be real here, becoming famous on the internet is nothing easy to do. I should know because I've been trying to make videos since I was like 13, and I'm gonna be honest, I never ended up blowing up back then. I remember after class that day, a lot of the guys were walking up to her and basically trying to flirt with her since everyone found out she was famous. And even the girls in that class ended up walking up to her and basically trying to clout chase off her. They kept asking to make TikToks with her. They kept asking to become like, you know, a part of the videos that she was making. But honestly, she didn't want any of it. She ended up just being silent, keeping everything to herself. Me, I was gonna walk up to her, I won't lie, but I just wanted to know more about how she did it. I remember after school that same day, I ended up walking towards my car and I ended up seeing her actually walking towards her car that was parked near me. And when I saw her walking alone, I decided to walk up to her and say, hey, I just wanted to say I enjoyed your school presentation. It was actually pretty good. Oh, don't tell me you want to make like a video with me, Bubba. What? Oh, no, I just wanted to just know like how you did it. Like, I'm actually curious on like the whole internet thing. Wait, really? Like, you don't want to do anything with me? What? No, I just always been online and I always wondered like how it all worked and everything. I don't want to be a part of anything, to be honest. I don't think I'm internet material, is what I told her. And I remember she ended up smiling at me, and then afterwards she actually ended up getting a piece of paper out of her backpack and wrote down her address and phone number. When she handed it to me, I was kind of in shock because, well, I didn't expect to get a girl's number that day, especially hers since she was famous. But then she told me, honestly, Bubba, I don't know what it is, but I see something about you. Why don't you just come over later on? And honestly, like, I'm doing some work, so if you want to come stop by and see how I do it, why not just be there? At that moment, I was in major shock. I really did not know what to do or what to say because, well, I wasn't expecting her to actually, like, you know, let me in her house where she makes all these videos. So I remember I agreed, and I remember later on that day when I got home and dropped off my things, I was super excited. And around 6 o'clock after dinner, I ended up getting inside my car again and I drove over to her place. When I got to her place, I remember I ended up knocking on the door, and instantly her dad opens the door and says, "Oh, you must be here for my daughter. She told me you were coming over." Yeah, I was just curious about her work, that's all. Okay, well, yeah, come on in. I remember he ends up walking me towards her bedroom, and I remember once I walked into her bedroom, I realized she had the most insane gaming setup ever. Like, no joke, her gaming setup was like top tier. She had the gaming monitor, she had the Razer keyboard that everyone wanted back then. Like, no joke, I was very jealous. And I remember when I sat down on her bed, she ended up looking at me saying, "Okay, so I'm gonna show you what it means to like be a creator. So basically, you see all these like charts here?" And well, that entire day, basically, she was showing me how she ran her channel. And what I learned was that there's no luck to becoming famous on the internet. Like, there's no way that you just post a video and it just goes viral. There's a certain algorithm that you have to follow. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember I kept learning off her and everything, and then she ended up stopping midway through her talk, I guess, with me. And she looks at me and says, "Bubba, are you getting any of this?" "Oh yeah, no, 100% I am." And I ended up reciting basically everything she told me. I remember she looks at me and she like kind of smiles and says, "Honestly, Bubba, like, I'm so happy like you're not like a clout chaser or anything." Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care for your fame. I just care about what I could learn from you. And one thing led to another. She ended up sitting beside me on the bed, and well, she ended up making out with me. It was super unexpected, and honestly, I did not know what to do because once again, I came to learn, not really actually do the devil's tango. But that's what ended up happening. I remember after a while though, I remember her mom ends up knocking on the door, and me and her jump out of the bed instantly, getting dressed as fast as possible. Her mom finally walks in and she says, "I hope you guys were not doing anything snoopy around here." And she ends up handing some snacks to us to eat. And I remember as me and her were sitting on the bed eating the snacks, we ended up both laughing because we were super close to getting caught by her mom. And that's when she looks at me and says, "Bubba, I'm just wondering, tomorrow I'm live streaming. Do you want to like maybe come over and join in?" "What? On your live stream?" "Yeah, why not? It'll be super fun if we both do it together. We could like do challenges and stuff and see what chat wants us to do." At that moment, I didn't really know if that was a good idea because I'm gonna be honest, at this time, I wasn't really like famous on the internet, nor did I know anything about, you know, live streaming especially. So I ended up looking at her and I said, well, I mean, it'll be my first time, so do you think I'll be able to handle it?" "Bubba, you'll be a professional, trust me. Just do whatever chat wants." And when she said that, I thought, well, how bad could it be? And boy, was it bad, because I remember the next day, a lot of people in my school were coming up to me saying like how they heard what happened and how I'm gonna be on a live stream today with her. And they all kept asking me to shout them out, and they all kept asking me to do all these different things that I'm gonna be honest, I really could care less about. The whole time I was just mostly nervous about, you know, the whole situation, about how I was gonna be live in front of her entire stream. And finally, when after school came around, I ended up getting home and I ended up putting on some actual clean clothes and basically make myself look presentable on the internet. And when I finally ended up driving to her place and got there, I remember I ended up walking into her room and she was getting all set up. Like, she was turning on the neon lights, she was turning on like, you know, the capture card and all these different things that she needed to live stream. And then she ended up looking at me saying, "Okay, so Bubba, basically I'm gonna like press go live here, okay? I'm gonna talk to my chat for a bit, and then afterwards I'm gonna introduce you in and we'll just basically do what we want to do, okay?" Yeah, sure, okay, no problem, is what I said. And then afterwards, that's exactly what she did. She went on in front of her computer, she ended up pressing go live, and right away I ended up seeing her chat flooded with people, all of them saying hi, all of them freaking out that she was live. And honestly, it was intimidating. To this day, even though I'm called Bubba Streams, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big streamer, nor am I good at it. At least I don't think so. I don't know, you guys can watch me live on Twitch if you guys want to. But going on with the story, I remember when I saw this, I was kind of freaking out, concerned, and then out of nowhere, I remember she looks at me and says, "Okay guys, so real quick, I want to introduce a good friend of mine. He's one of my IRLs and he's gonna be coming into frame." At that moment, I was so nervous to walk over there until she stood up and grabbed my arm and pulled me into the camera and said, "Guys, this is Bubba." At that moment, her whole chat was like either making fun of me and also on top of that saying I was cute. I don't really know. It was like a full mixture of a bunch of people with different opinions, which honestly was really intimidating. But then afterwards, I remember the girl said, okay, so chat, what do you guys want me and Bubba to do? At that moment, I looked at her and I looked at the chat and all of them were saying for us to kiss and do all these really weird things that I'm not gonna lie, is pretty degenerate. And when I was looking at her reading that, I remember she ended up looking at me and she instantly just starts making out with me live on camera. Like, no joke, I didn't know what to do. I didn't think we were gonna film anything because we weren't streaming on the Devil's Hub. So I started to freak out. And one thing led to another. She started reaching for my eggplant and that's when I pushed her off me. I remember her whole chat ended up basically booing, like literally putting like thumbs down emojis. And it was just so intimidating to the point where I basically looked at the stream and said, all right, listen guys, I didn't come on here to, you know, be used, I guess, but I'm gonna head out. At that moment, I started leaving the house. And when I walked out of the front door to go towards my car, she ends up coming out furious. And she says, Bubba, do you know what you just did? You just made me the laughing stock of the damn internet. What are you doing? What? What do you mean? I didn't come on stream to be made out with. Bubba, you don't understand. It's what the content wants. People want this kind of stuff. What? No, they don't. That's weird. And at that moment, she ended up coming up to me and she ended up grabbing my arm and she says, Bubba, we have to give people what they want. In that moment, I realized that, you know what? I don't really know what your content is, but it's definitely not for me. And I ended up getting inside my car and I drove away. The next day at school, I remember everyone was sending each other the clip of what happened and no joke, it ended up actually going viral. Funny enough, someone actually ended up putting it in their school presentation of the fall off of the girl streamer that was, I guess, in our school. It was really crazy. And I will say this, never date a streamer because you never know how it could end up. But I mean, if you guys do date a streamer or want to date a streamer, then fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. Okay, so fun fact, TwitchCon is actually happening this weekend, literally like right now as we speak. And it's really cool knowing how a bunch of creators get to come together and just do a lot of like different crazy things, like hang out, go to parties, drink, you know, all that cool stuff. But one thing I realized about TwitchCon and, you know, just basically any creator social event is that it gets really awkward. Like, think about it for a second. A bunch of nerds and weird gamers are all coming together and basically hanging out. That's like if I got like every clique in my school, like the jocks, the nerds and everything, and we all sat each other down for an assembly. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you got like the really hot chicks on Twitch that are like, you know, like showing like their cherries and stuff. And then we got like the really awkward dream stands in the background going, oh my God, like, let me speed run this, baby girl. Like, dude, like, I don't even know what to think. But today's story is about how me going into that awkwardness was really weird. And me, especially as a Twitch affiliate, well, things change a lot. So what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story takes place, funny enough, back in 2017. When I was in 2017, I'm not gonna lie, I loved Twitch. I loved gaming. I loved this whole YouTube content creation thing to the point where I eventually became one, like, you know, a couple of years later. But still, I fell in love with Twitch and I fell in love with the whole platform itself until recently nowadays. But still, by the way, if you guys do want to follow my Twitch, I do stream on there in random moments. So go on there, click notifications and watch me stream live. But I remember one time I was watching one of my favorite streamers. It was just some random person, to be honest. I don't know what their Twitch name is anymore because it was so long ago. And he was telling everyone about how he was going to be at TwitchCon, how cool it's going to be, and, you know, to meet up with him. Basically what every other Twitch streamer is doing nowadays. Like, be honest here, like, who here hasn't heard of Twitch and basically like TwitchCon? And basically everyone was all excited in chat saying, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And me in my head, I'm thinking, why don't I go to TwitchCon? Why can't I go to TwitchCon and hang out with cool kids and gamers like me? So I remember I went to my parents and like, Mom, Dad, I want to go to TwitchCon. And luckily enough, that year we were going to San Diego for a family trip. So I remember I went up to my mom and dad and I'm like, Mom, Dad, listen, this is a big deal for me. This will be my entire career in one place. I need to go to TwitchCon. My mom looks at me and she's like, you want to go to TwitchCon? You want to go hang out with weird gamer boy? And my dad looks at me and he's like, to be honest, my son, I don't think there's a point of you going to TwitchCon. Like, what is a Twitch? Isn't that like a disability? And I'm like, no, Mom, Dad, trust me. I know what I'm talking about. This is important to me, Mom. I remember they were both like, kind of like, if you can pay for your ticket, you can go. And I'm like, bet, watch me. So I remember what I ended up doing was I went up to like one of my friends and I'm like, hey man, I need to figure out how to make money. Is there any way you could like make this happen? He looks at me, he's like, for what? And I'm like, dude, I want to go to TwitchCon. Then he told me, oh bro, I'm going to TwitchCon already. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, dude, I have a Twitch account and everything. Like, I'm gonna be going as an affiliate. Huh? And he's like, yeah, man, just like, dude, if you want to go to TwitchCon, just like come with me. I'll buy you a ticket. Like, my dad doesn't mind buying you a ticket. And I'm like, bet. So I remember me and him and basically our families combined each other to go to San Diego. And when we got there, I remember I spent one day with my family and the next day getting ready for TwitchCon, and I was basically with their family, well, my friend's family, I should say. We were all hanging out, basically just chilling there. And I remember me and my friend were getting ready to go to TwitchCon, and as we were going downstairs and everything to go like, you know, out of the hotel, instantly I see a celebrity. Now, I don't remember what this chick's name was. It was some like chick that like showed her cherries on the internet a lot, but I don't know. She was hotter in person than on camera, surprisingly. And I remember I was like nervous. I'm like, dude. And my friend's like, what? I'm like, dude, that chick has cherries. It's like, oh yeah, it's a partner streamer. Partnered. Like, dude, I was mesmerized by this chick, dude. I don't know why. I felt like it was celebrities everywhere. So I remember we got to TwitchCon, and I remember I went in there under Persian Guy Gamer, which was my old gamer tag, funny enough. Really awkward, I know. And when I went in there, I remember I was like kind of just like walking around and like basically seeing all the streamers combine each other. Now, reminder, TwitchCon is really cool, but at the same time, it's really awkward because, you know, if you're not a somebody in there, you're kind of like that fan that just walks around, and you feel like you're an affiliate. That's cool, I guess. Like, yeah, you get to meet some people, but partnered people, they get like this whole lounge to themselves, to get everything. And me, when I saw the partner lounge, I'm like, dude, I gotta get in there somehow. So I remember I'm just walking around with my friend the whole time, and we're just chilling, walking around. And I remember there was one girl I saw, and she wasn't wearing like a badge or anything. And I remember I walked up to her, I'm like, hey, like, are you here seeing like all the cool Twitch streamers? She like looks at me and laughs. She's like, how long have you been watching Twitch for? Oh, like a while now. You know, I'm just trying to like check it out, see like what's the vibes in TwitchCon. I do mostly YouTube, but Twitch is pretty cool. She laughs and she's like, how many subscribers do you have on YouTube? At this time, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't a flex to say I had 300 subscribers. So I kind of lied to her and said 3,000, thinking that was a big number. But then she looks at me, she's like, oh, like not bad, keep it up. As if she had more than me, which later on you guys will see why. But anyways, I remember me and her, she was basically like realizing that I was kind of alone because I kind of like ended up ditching my friend to go talk to this chick. And she's like, oh, like you want to like hang out with me and like my friends? Like we can just walk around and stuff. I said, sure, like I'm down. So I remember me and this chick and like basically two of her friends were just all walking around. These girls were like hot, like scary hot. And I remember like out of nowhere, like people just kind of like stare at me and her for some reason. And I'm like, dude, like it's weird. Like people are like staring at us as if we're like, you know, celebrities. And then she looks at me, she's like, oh, like it's common. Like, you know, there's a bunch of Twitch streamers here and stuff. Everyone thinks they're a streamer. Like it is what it is. I mean, I'm just looking and I'm like, okay, cool. And we keep walking around. Then later on in the day, I remember me and her, we went to go get lunch. We started eating lunch. We started talking to each other. And this chick was amazing. Like this chick was like a normal chick, actually, surprisingly. And she was actually really cool. She wasn't like a weird dream stan, or she wasn't like, you know, a furry of like Jelly Bean's crew. Like she was actually like a normal person. So then I remember I was like straight up to her. I'm like, so like, who do you watch on Twitch? She started saying like all like the mainstream celebrities on Twitch and stuff. And she started saying them by their first name. And at that point, something was like really off. Like it didn't make sense to me how she knew them by their first name. To be honest, I didn't know them by their first name. So I straight up asked her, I'm like, why do you call them by their first name? And she looks at me like kind of like with her head tilted, kind of like, do you not know who I am? I look at her and I'm like, no, I have no idea. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I just thought you were hot. And she just starts laughing and giggling. She's like, oh my goodness, like you're being so cute. Stop joking around. And we keep walking around with each other. At that point, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I was supposed to be like, oh yeah, I know you. Like you're like that like broke girl on the street corner of Whale and Hum. I don't know. What am I supposed to say there? So I remember she like kind of like still walks with me and stuff. You know, she thought I was joking about something and I wasn't sure what at the moment. And we go around TwitchCon again. But then I saw that she was walking up the stairs to the partner lounge that was happening at TwitchCon. And me, I'm like, dude, that's the partner lounge. We can't go in there. I remember I like literally pulled her and told her that. And she like told me, oh, like, why not? Like, don't worry. Like, everyone's like normal there. Like, no one's gonna say anything. Like, just stick with me. And I'm like, no, like, you don't understand. You have to be partnered on Twitch to get it. She's like, oh, right. I should get my badge out. She pulls out the badge out of her pocket. And straight up, I see some big streamer with a partner badge. Like, what? I'm like, wait, who are you? She literally looks at me again. She's like, you really don't know who I am? And I tell her straight up, I'm like, no, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I have no idea who you are. I literally said earlier, I just thought you were hot. Then she starts realizing with her eyes wide open that I wasn't faking it. I didn't know who she was. I wasn't actually just some normal guy trying to walk up to her. Well, I was, but she thought I was like actually like someone that knew her, like, or like a fan or something. So knowing that I didn't know her, she kind of like really didn't tell me like her Twitch name or anything. We just kind of went inside the partner lounge and we started walking around, and I saw a bunch of streamers that moment, like all hanging out with each other, being all cool together. And I was like mesmerized. I was like, holy cow, I'm in a room with full of celebrities. Like imagine like the biggest streamers and YouTubers you guys know right now, only one room, basically wanted to hang out with you and basically like chilling there. Well, they didn't want to hang out with me, but they were really cool. All sitting there looking, staring at you. Dude, I felt like I had like 1 million viewers at the time. I don't know. I felt like a celebrity basically, but I was in shock. And then I remember we sat down, me and her, and I realized some people started walking up, some celebrities we started talking to. It was really cool. But for some reason, out of nowhere, when we were sitting down, this girl that was partnered all of a sudden put her hand on my thigh and she's like, hey, like, do you want to get out of here? Like, it's kind of boring in here now. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Like, we can go check out the cool Twitch Rivals tournament that's going down. She looks at me, she's like, no, like, kind of want to do something else. Sure. So me and her, we ended up actually like leaving the partner lounge. And when we left, I remember we went like down the stairs to like this like kind of quiet area that's kind of like near outside of TwitchCon. And like we were so close to TwitchCon, but we weren't like super close to it to the point where like, you know, we were considered like in TwitchCon. And me and her, we kind of like went to the like this back alley kind of way down in San Diego out of nowhere. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And she's like, honestly, like, no, for a guy that doesn't know me, like you treat me really well. And like, I kind of find that hot. And she literally put herself onto me. And I'm not gonna lie, in that alleyway, me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango. But as we were doing it, out of nowhere, like after like 10 minutes of me like going at it with her, there was legit a group of people, of literal like SIMPs. I can't say the name because I don't want to get demonetized, but you guys know what I mean. SIMPs that are literally walking in, seeing me and her in the alleyway, and they recognized her, but they didn't know who I was, so they started taking pictures. She started panicking. She started freaking out, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, this is awkward. Yeah, long story short, she basically like straight up got her clothes on and ran away, and me, I put on my underwear on, and I'm just like, okay, cool, I guess. And basically she ran inside and pretended like none of it happened. But then a lot of people were walking up to me, that crowd of like SIMPs were like, do you know who she is? Like, oh my goodness, like, how do you know her? Oh my God, dude, you got the chance of a lifetime. Dude, she's just a chick, is what I told them, but they didn't understand. I don't know. Apparently people can't fathom that like girl celebrities are actually just girls. Like, they're not like the celebrity part of them doesn't really mean much. And me being a creator nowadays, like, I'm gonna be honest, I still feel like a normal human, but I don't know. Everyone's weird that way, I guess. And then after she came up to me, she's like, hey, sorry, like that was really embarrassing. I should have like controlled myself there. And I like told her like, hey, it's chill. I don't mind. It's all good. Like, it's fine. Like, we're chilling. She realized how calm I was, and she was like, have you done this before? And I told her no, because I didn't want to tell her I thought I was like a total F-boy. And she just told me, okay, well, like, here's like my room number. If you want to like come up and hang out, like, you know, I'm just gonna be like chilling and stuff. So I'm like, sure, why not? So I go up there, and me and her were just hanging out, chilling. And yeah, long story short, me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango again. But after, when I came back home, I realized that, well, she deleted her Twitch account because she was super embarrassed of all the photos being posted about me and her. Yeah, I should have seen that one coming. I mean, she would have gotten a lot of followers off it. I mean, so would have I, but I don't know. There's many ways to get followers nowadays. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. It means a lot when you guys do. And like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys.
My name is Baba. I'm still on top of the world. Never taken with your mother. Of course, let's go. Should I make it a story? Let's click record. Got that TikTok with 2 mil hit different with some more. She said she love me, she kept. Should I exit for sure? I got 100K for my